episode 29 of the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. Continue to get tons of watches and views, so thank you for all that. I get it's funny, after we post the shows, usually they hit Friday morning, Thursday night, depending on my work schedule and some other things, and within an hour I usually have a message or two from people that have watched it or listened to it, sharing comments or, hey, I love that you covered this. So thank you. Continue to send those out. You don't have to just send them to me. Send them to Paul, send them to Wade, send them to whoever our guest for the week is. And we have a new guest, first time on the show. I know it won't be the last. Tom Frosty.
Hey, thanks for having me.
On the East Coast. How are things out that way?
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting.
We got 5 days left till the puck drops in the regular season, so I know everybody's excited about all that stuff. Let's start first with expos. We have some more coming up, and thanks to Paul and his lovely website. I need to remember to put that in the video link and stuff this week so people can find it easy for reference. But SoCal Game Worn Expo in Valencia, California is this Saturday from 9 to 4 at Embassy Suites in Valencia. I know, Paul, you said you may make it out to that one. October the 15th, Minnesota, your upper Midwest Expo, Minnesota Game Worn Expo in St. Paul, located at Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub. Now we need more hockey bars like that. But yeah, October the 15th, Sunday, not a Saturday, Sunday, October 15th, starting at 11 at Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub in St. Paul. And then October 21st and 22nd, you have two expos. Of course, Wade here on the podcast with us, going on in Collinsville, Illinois, just outside of St. Louis for both Saturday and Sunday. You've got autograph signers. You have 40 tables, I think now you're up to, unless that number's changed again.
Right around there, yeah. And I also have a really famous podcast coming.
If anybody asks me for an autograph down there, I'll probably fall over. And I should auction off my game jersey after I get back, because I told this story last time. I'm playing in the Pucks for Autism, and if anybody would like to help sponsor me, I'm still fundraising a little bit of money. I think I have $90-some left I need to raise between now and the 21st of October. But Pucks for Autism is a great organization. I played with them last year, but we're playing before the Blues game on Saturday afternoon. The Blues play the Penguins that night, so I'll get to be on the ice before Crosby and all that, and maybe I'll eat up his goals or something. So, but 2 days and gonna be a fantastic expo. I'm already getting all my stuff together. I know a lot of guys are coming. It'll be a ton of fun there. So a lot of us looking forward to that one. Also going on the same day, the Hershey Game Worn Expo, 9 to 4 at the Holiday Inn in Grantville, Pennsylvania. Then have we solidified November the 4th? Paul, do you know, for the Detroit Game Worn Expo?
I thought I saw something was finalized, but I'll have to double check to make sure, and then I'll have to update that too.
Yep, and that's what I just saw. That. Okay. Yeah. That's going on in Shelby Township, Michigan on November the 4th. We'll touch in on the more November ones as we get a little farther into October. We've got some good ones there. And then, Tom, I had messaged you over this weekend about coming on the podcast, and you sent me some amazing photos from what you were doing. Give us a little wrap up on that.
Sure. So one of the local collectors up here in the Boston area puts on a small little show, really more like a group of friends in a garage, bring in their little hockey bags, and they open them up and share a little bit of what they brought. But it's a mix of NHL, mix of college, really good group of guys. And typically we try to arrange, some type of a dinner beforehand, dinner the night before. If we can align it with a Bruins game, we do that as well.
Nice. And it's awesome. And your background picture there is from the show, is some of that's your collection, part of it. And that's amazing. Just those,
yeah, thank you.
As somebody who's a goalie, just seeing the goalie masks alone, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that particular display, I had I think 8 or 9 of the Bruins various All-Star jerseys from over the years. So it came out good.
I wish we'd do all this retro stuff. I wish we'd go retro on the All-Star jerseys and use some of these different years, because those are gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, some of the old Crosbys are really nice.
Again, more marketing for the NHL. So any NHL officials or marketing officials listening to this podcast, send us a percentage of that if you do that now, by the way, for selling those. Wade caught a great thing today and didn't know anything about it. Nashville is selling warm-up jerseys tonight, which how'd you stumble across that?
So I actually get their GiveSmart. I get the text notifications, just like the ones the Blues do. I get a number of teams ones because I'm always just liking to see what they do. I like to see where prices go. And that popped up, and I was pretty intrigued because they're each player issued, I guess is the best way to put it, because they're not obviously going to be worn in pregame, but they're player issued, and they all look signed. So it looks like they're carrying on that same, warm up tradition for their specialty nights without putting them on the ice, which I think is great because it should still garnish some attention, and it also will produce some funds for their different charities.
This particular one is for Hispanic Heritage Night. Proceeds are benefit organizations in the Latin community through the Preds Foundation and their Guider program. Just looking around here, and the description says Hispanic Heritage Night jersey, autographed, in this case by Ryan O'Reilly is the one I'm looking at, size 56, and has this one particular, just has a back image, but currently 17 bids at $575. I'm looking at see what the clock is here.
I think they closed tonight.
Do they? Okay. Yeah. For some reason their clock's not showing.
Cool.
But scrolling around prices, Sissons is 800 right now. Who else is up there?
Yeah, I don't see a clock either. That's funny.
Soros, they're also doing nameplates, auctioning those off. Those are all going at pretty decent prices. I mean, so it doesn't appear people are staying away. Yossi's at 900 right now. And again, the design of the Predator logo is really cool. The coloring of the lettering, the whole bit. So yeah, good to see that they've already started doing this. So we kind of keep an eye on it, and maybe we'll talk on the next show, see what the finalized prices were for those. But at this point, those are sharp.
Yeah,
specialty jerseys have always really been a top seller, I think, for just about every team.
And our biggest concern in the past with that, once we brought it up over the summer, Tom, is was there going to be a drop off because of no wear? And I understand they don't wear them very long. They warm ups and then go take them off. So it's a very short time period. But at least looking at this auction, I want to find some other teams once they do it and compare. Those prices don't seem like anybody cares. And maybe at the end of the day, there's less diehard collectors, and it's more for the charity, and they don't care that they were worn or not. They want that design or just want to help out.
Yeah, as we've always seen. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Wade. I was just gonna say I've been following pretty closely for the Bruins over the past few years, and the prices have just continued to really shoot up. They've been worn for warm up, not worn during the game. So I think the concern for wear is definitely not there at all for these specialty jerseys.
And those do seem to, at least in the ones I've seen that do pop up for sale, at least in the Blues area, is not a lot of them are coming from diehard collectors. It's more of the fan at the game, and then they decide down the road to move it because they don't want it anymore, and then search out somebody that they can help move it to. And so that may be it, because they're being advertised heavy in the game and that. But it'll be interesting to see once we kind of take a snapshot of even like the first half of the season, if there's much price drop off. So interesting thing to watch. And if you're a Predators fan, let us know if you picked up one of these. So the other big thing, and we've touched on it in a past show. Go ahead.
Before going on, Jason, also the Sharks will have their Los Tiburons specialty jersey auction on October 14th through 16th.
Ooh, nice. Those are always beautiful too.
Yeah, it should be a good design. I haven't seen them yet. We should see them on the October 14th game against Colorado, the first Saturday night game. And then it's also on GiveSmart, benefiting Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley. And ideally, I mean, if we're on the 2-week schedule, we'll have those results too for the next show.
Yeah, that's yep. Plan on sticking with that. So by that point, we'll be able to compare some notes from different teams, because I have a feeling some of the other West Coast teams may be doing something similar. So
I'll be surprised.
hey, we'll research the hell out of this stuff if we have to. So we brought Frosty in as one of the Boston experts here because I saw a post, and I will apologize on who sent the email out. I meant to grab that and missed it completely. But first name's Brian. I should have found it and missed it. But he shared an email he received from Ryan Ward, who's the Authentics manager for the Boston Bruins, reaching out asking what the story is or what's going on with the Boston Game Worn program, because anybody that's not heard the show or not seen it notified other places, Boston is now taking it in-house for this year. So let me read the response that the Bruins sent out, and then we'll kind of break it down. And then Paul found another piece of this. It says, thank you for getting in touch regarding the exciting new Bruins Authentics program. The Bruins organization is thrilled to introduce this initiative, aiming to strengthen the connection between team fans and collectors. The Authentics program will be available both at the TD Gardens Pro Shop and online through bostonproshop.com. We're launching with a remarkable collection of game-used and team-issued equipment from the 22-23 season and beyond. The official announcement of this launch will be made through various channels, including email, social media, and a press release by the Bruins. In celebration of Bruins centennial season, the jersey sets will be the cornerstone of this program. With 3 new jersey designs this year, we'll keep you informed about releases and availability through multiple communication channels as the program unfolds. We'll keep fans and collectors updated via email notifications on new products for those who sign up. Our authentication process is conducted in collaboration with OPSEC, a renowned industry leader in authentication known for partnering with organizations like MLB and IndyCar. As the season progresses, every authenticated piece of equipment or jersey will have detailed information about the player, games of use, goals scored, and more, accessible through a unique identifier on the hologram. Information is meticulously curated by the Boston Bruins equipment staff and myself, and can be accessed through bostonproshop.com. Thanks again for your interest in the Authentics program. Should you have any questions, reach out. And again, Ryan Ward, Authentics manager. What caught my attention in that early on, and I don't know if you gentlemen caught it as well, we're launching a remarkable collection of game-used and team-issued equipment from 22-23. So I haven't gone to their site to see if any of that's out there, but they're trying to get on this stuff quick.
Yeah, upon a last look, I haven't seen anything yet, Jason. What's really kind of funny about that is Migrate was supposed to have all of the 22-23 stuff themselves, and I know that they were complaining that they didn't get everything that they thought they were going to be getting by the end of the season. So that ought to prove to be interesting.
So Tom, let's start with you, since you're the expert in this area. What are your thoughts with their plans here?
Well, I think that probably the biggest concern that people have, right, it's change, right? Fear of the unknown. And I think what you have are people like myself. The last 20 years, you've built up a relationship with Migrate, and you know how they work. You know how to get, put in a pre-order. You know how to go look at their old equipment, and they know you, right? If something pops up, they're able to reach out. I think the biggest challenge we have, although that email was somewhat helpful, if you go to the Bruins Pro Shop website, there's nothing really there yet. So you're on the precipice of the season starting next Wednesday, their 100th season, and there's still a lot of unknowns. So I think that's what's caused a lot of angst within the hobbies, especially the Bruins collectors who've been, buying from Migrate for the past 20 plus years.
And I went to the Boston Bruins, the Facebook group, and a couple other people are saying, yeah, it's supposed to be released once the season starts. But you'd think you'd have already kind of had that out there now, and maybe they just want to be because hey, it's start of the season, we want to really just blow out as many things and get everybody interested, but with as many people clamoring, you really think, and I apologize too, Brian Anderson was who posted this
Gotcha.
email,
Yep.
so I do want to credit him for that and say thank you for that information. I mean, as I would hope teams, especially this, they've got it. Seemed like they have it figured out that they would be putting it out sooner than later. But maybe it's just try to keep the excitement out there a little bit.
I hope that's what it is, right? They didn't hire, is it Ryan Ward? He wasn't even hired for this role until very recently. So it feels like a lot of this is just kind of on the fly definition. They're trying to figure things out as they go through. My understanding is Ryan has not really worked in the hobby before. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? So, one of the benefits of this model might be that you're going to start to expose the Bruins game worn, game used equipment to people who maybe never knew about MyGray or never went to MyGray, right? So that's an idea. It might start to expand the hobby there. I hope that's the case. I always wondered why MyGray never set up a table at the Boston Garden and sold sweaters and sticks and stuff. I know the pro shop always used to have a stick here or there, but it was never anything significant in terms of volumes. If you were lucky, you got there early and there was a stick from a third line player. But certainly being able to go to the Garden and if MyGray had set up a table with sweaters from the current team, they would have done probably a better job of selling some of those third and fourth line players that are probably hanging in their warehouse today.
So, and gentlemen, jump in here too if you have thoughts and questions for Frosty or in general here. I guess seeing one of the things that they're putting it in both places has me, I would say, excited because I'm not a Boston buyer, but at least having the availability of getting it online in it, not just having to go to their pro shop, because I know some teams pretty much operate in-house only, or Dallas has a weird cross thing, but they wait forever to put their stuff online, and it's the people going to the arena get it first. And I'll be curious if that's how they do it here, but at least they have both avenues open. My concern was it was going to be just local to that, and maybe somebody said, hey, you really need to make these available out. There's Boston fans everywhere, just like every team has fans outside of the market.
Sure. I am actually planning to be at the Garden tomorrow afternoon in the pro shop, so I'll try to get some details. If I learn anything more than what we've shared tonight, I'll be sure to get them back to you.
Appreciate that. Paul, your thoughts?
It's going to be interesting selling them, at the game or in the pro shop there. The Sharks do something similar, that they release jerseys, you never know when, or gear, and they appear at a kiosk. And so people, the collectors here in the Bay Area, they'll queue early. And you just never know if you're waiting for that one jersey, which you really want, or there's going to be nothing there, or a lot of stuff you don't care about. I assume the Bruins are going to hit the same type thing if they're start releasing the jerseys throughout the season. At least at the pro shop at the site, on the website, that will be a little bit different. And I'm hoping it's just not a race to get them. I mean, one of the great things about MyGray is you could pre-order jerseys, and I don't know anyone else who does that. I mean, none of the other teams. I can't imagine Fanatics doing that. But that's my one Fanatics reference for the show.
I'll mention them in the middle on a side note with some research I was doing today, but
oh no,
go right ahead.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I'm also interested about, I'm not going to say it's a concern or anything, but their talk about authentication and how they're tracking where and when the jerseys were worn. I know the Sharks try to do that with I'm assuming, I think it was like the eye in the sky thing and tracking it that way. So if you happen to get an LOA the past year from the Sharks, and not all of them have been sent out, it states the games that it was worn, and that's not always correct. We've been able to match, game from the past year, game issued Sharks jerseys to games, um, jerseys which were worn certain dates to other dates, and it's I don't know. It seems to be complicated to get that right. Especially the Sharks had a few players that wear multiple jerseys a game that switch them at breaks. I have no idea if the Bruins have players like that. And that's something Tom probably has a much better knowledge of. But
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, back in the day, we knew Ray Bork and Byron Defoe each wore a new sweater every period. So yeah, it definitely happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's, it makes it more difficult to track exactly when it was worn, besides photo matching, what we normally rely on. So I do have I'm curious how well they're going to do on the authentication part of it. And just to be clear, I'm certain the jerseys that they say were worn were most likely 99% worn and all that. I'm just not confident that they're going to get the dates, the times, the milestones, and all that correct.
Yeah, the details could be screwed up because equipment staff, and then Ryan Ward. Again, going back to this email, the information is meticulously crafted by Boston Bruins equipment staff and myself, and then will be able to be accessed through Boston Pro Shop.
And I'm highly skeptical of that comment because I
Right.
don't know if the equipment staff cares. It's not their job to care about that. Their job is to equip their players, get them out on the ice, and make sure nothing goes wrong with the equipment, the gear. I mean, they have a lot going on. Ryan's job then, I guess, would be to track this, and hopefully he has a good method set up for it.
I mean, and I'll get to you, Wade, here just a second, but that brings up a question of, okay, as we know, equipment staff, like you said, have 4,000 other things to manage during a game. Is he then in the locker room every home game working with this, or is he have a intern or something doing it? And then what's happening on the road? Because again, the equipment guys have tons of other crap to manage. This is going to be way down on their list of things, and I believe they'll do their best. But he might be, and I don't know. Again, I'm not questioning his background. I don't know anything about him. But if he is not in or has much of a hockey background, does he understand what's going on in that locker room and the difficulties of doing this? Or maybe there is a designated equipment person that says, hey, part of your job is now to do this.
And if that is someone's job, how much does it jack up the prices?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's another task that needs to be done. So
You mentioned pricing, Paul, and I think one of the things that in the back of our minds has been a little bit of a concern, right? So we've all seen the pricing in the hobby just kind of get a little bit crazy over the last couple of years. And Bruins 100th season, they're taking everything in house. Is it because they really want to maximize the dollar? And are we going to be seeing jerseys that maybe went for 500, 600? The third line type guys that used to get up my grade for that $500-600 range. Are we going to start seeing those start to, eclipse the $1,000 mark? And then when we're looking at the Brad Marchands and the Pasternaks and the Elmarks, are those going to start creeping up into the 4,000 and 5,000? Because last year, the Bruins had two very great goaltenders, but their regular season jerseys were selling even at my grade, 2,500-ish. And, Patrice Bergeron, captain, future Hall of Famer for sure. His jerseys are in the 4,000 to 5,000. What are we going to be seeing this year? How's the pricing going to look where it's the 100th season?
Interesting. And how many sets too?
Yeah.
So I have two comments on it. My first one being, so there's a mention in there about Major League Baseball authentication. And I don't know how much of a collector any of you guys are of MLB stuff, but they do every baseball. They'll do rosin bags. They do everything that comes off the field through that process. But that they also have a dedicated staff to do that. And when that stuff rolls off the field, it gets rolled to the person who, and a lot of those guys are like retired police officers and different things like that. And they have a dedicated staff that stickers it and puts it into the system so that those things are available. Now, where that gets tricky, and this is the reason I bring that up, is a hockey jersey is a whole different ballgame because that's not coming out of play after every game. So the one thing I did notice in the last year with the Blues is the Blues have that barcode tag in there. And when you get the LOA from them, you get the LOA and then you also get a list of games used. And it actually, there's one spot on that that's interesting. It actually says full at the end of it. So my guess on those is what they're doing is they're scanning that jersey at the start of the game, and then they're scanning that jersey at the end of the game to make an opinion that was used in the whole game. That's still not totally accurate because let's say a guy in the second period gets in a fight. He's got to go to his backup jersey for, at the end of the first period into the second period, and then they fix his regular jersey and he swaps out in between periods. There's a lot of technicalities there. How they're going to track between the equipment guys who, like you guys said, don't care, and that's not really their job to care about tracking that stuff, versus collectors who want to have as much detailed information about when something was used. It's a really interesting question to see how they're going to be able to track something between games and multi-use items.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Wade, because it brings, prior to the Bruins bringing Migraine in the early 2000s, right? You were following a period of time when a Bruins game one jersey was suspect by default, right? You had gone through the whole custom crafted nightmare where, the Bruins official jersey manufacturer was making fake jerseys and selling them identical to what they were given to the team with fake wear. That's pretty well documented. But then you ended up running into a period of time in the late 90s where you had the Bruins equipment manager who was trying to make a buck, having different players wear different jerseys every other game. And that's why you'll see for some of the star players in the late 90s, so many of their jerseys available because, it was his way to make some extra cash. Here's a new jersey tonight. Put the other one in the bag and I'll take it home and sell it. So my grade kind of gave us some stability. So that's something that I really hope that we don't lose with this new process.
I think that's one of the biggest things that the authentication programs bring is stability. I don't think there's a perfect answer to it, unless it's items like what MLB does. I think the only thing that's almost, and I've seen mistakes there, but the only thing that's perfect about that is like a lot of times if a guy breaks a bat, that bat comes off the game, it gets double stickered on each part of the broken piece of the bat, and it gets said when it was used. Same thing with balls. Balls get chucked back in, and they do their best to track them to who pitched it to who, what inning, whatever. I don't think hockey is that possible because, again, it falls back to the equipment guys care and how much space is there in the bench or in the areas to actually track that stuff to that type of precision. Again, and photo matching has now been proven to be as close to figuring something out, but can also be manipulated as well. We've discovered that recently. So, I don't know if there's a perfect system out there for what we collect.
And Paul, you touched on it too with the Sharks, and I think there's been a couple other teams where we've seen that where the dates worn, you start looking at stuff and it's either at the beginning it was started earlier or went longer than what you were told, and it's great to find it on the photo match, but then your LOA or whatever other documentation is off, and you've got to make sure going forward is, hey, we photo matched these beyond these games, so now it's up to the collector to document all the additional findings. Absolutely. So, it's the staff and the amount of work they want to put in, and I'm really hoping that the Bruins have done a lot of research and looked, and maybe they've consulted with some people in the hobby. We don't know. We're taking a lot of guesses here. I'm hoping them and other teams reach out to contacts and say, hey, we're trying to do this. What do you guys see? What do you think? What do you expect? and it'll be a good product. It is nice to see that the primary, or at least appears to be, the primary sales are fixed prices and not auctions. And
Yeah,
I'll,
we'll find out. We know the
right.
Bruins Foundation is auctioning off jerseys regularly, which is what, most of the specialty jerseys went to the Bruins Foundation. So I'd be shocked if they don't allow that avenue still. But yeah, we'll find out. We'll get that information back out to everybody.
And maybe it'll only be specialties that they get for auction, some things, and then everything else is a straight pricing. Because what is it? Ottawa, I think they list most of their stuff online. At least they used to.
They
Several
do some
teams.
auctions too.
Okay.
The higher end players are auctioned now.
Okay. Well, and yeah, I guess where you can generate more revenue. So I guess outside of Migrate, are there many teams that do a straight, here's the price, here's what you buy it for, or is pretty much most teams doing one of the auction platforms? Because I
guess the Kings do straight pricing because they have
that's
their
true.
website. And then I guess Dallas does because they do it out of their team store. So that's straight pricing. Florida now is doing stuff out of their team store. So that's got to be primarily straight pricing. The Panthers.
Yeah, and Tampa's
the
back and forth.
Tampa's on the website with their pricing. So I guess it does exist out there.
So, I mean, I want to see teams do well, and
yeah,
it's
the only problem with straight pricing. The only problem with that is, for in a collector sense, unless you're an extremely wealthy collector, the thing I've discovered over the years, and if you go into any NHL team's team store, their straight pricing and some of the materials they put out are geared towards a price point higher than what most regular people are wanting to spend on stuff. When you walk in to the Blues team store, and I'm sure it's the same way in San Jose and in Boston, and they've got Travis Matthews pullovers, with the Blues logo on them, and they're $240 for like a pullover shirt. Suddenly that becomes unattainable for a family of four, unless they're well off at some level, to clothe yourself with that. So if they start doing straight pricing and they start going, oh man, we can put those pasta jerseys out for $5 or $6 because we know there's a certain segment of not collector but fan that will jump on that. They don't care about secondary market. They only care about first day sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I lost my train of thought on some of that pricing
Sorry.
stuff. No, you're good. I've been able to put thoughts together all day, so it's nothing new.
Yeah.
I guess, and I guess Vegas is one of the ones that's where I was going to go. Is Vegas is one of the ones when they went, because Migrate had it the first year and the second, and then Vegas took it the third, correct?
Yeah.
And when they dropped their pricing, people went ape shit in most cases because the pricing was insane.
Somebody went to a game, and I maybe I'm kind of throwing from the hip here, but I remember some friends went to a game, and I think they saw like a Ryan Reeves jersey was like, I want to say it was $7,000 or something at their kiosk. I mean, something just crazy,
And I know everybody in Vegas has money, but you notice the next year they really seem to drop a good portion of those prices down, realizing that they were sitting on a ton of inventory. Yeah. So yeah. Frosty, I think you're right. They've got to find a reasonable place to land with those things, and maybe they look at what Migrate was kind of setting prices and go off of that, or some other way to kind of determine, okay, and maybe they even research, maybe they're going around researching game worn posts. I mean, if I was a person in this business, that's be one of the places I research is what's the market currently bearing for these things.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Jason. I do hope that they've done some homework so that at least when the price comes out, it's not that crazy high number.
In Boston's case, you'd have to assume that they'd have access to, there's probably has to be some kind of sales sheet that they would have been receiving over the years from Migrate, showing a breakdown of, or at least I'm sure they could have asked for it, for disclosure on hey, what are these going for? I mean, so you hope they would stay in line with something close to that pricing.
Yeah, I don't know what information Migray sent back to the Bruins, or if they even cared once they got, I suspect they just sold the bulk contract to Migray and let Migray have at it. And that
Sure.
might be why, they've taken everything back in house, because maybe they're thinking, oh, we're leaving too much meat on the bone. And in reality, I think they're going to find out that it's not all going to be gravy. There's a lot of work behind that. And Migray had a whole system to support their sales that I'm not sure that a team just bringing everything in house quickly is going to be able to replicate.
And my plan is about a month or so into the season, once the Bruins have dropped all the information launches, I'll actually reach out to the head of this and see if he'll be willing to do an interview. I'm hoping to do more of that this year, just bring more NHL teams that do their own in-house stuff and talk about it, because and whatever they're able to share. But I want to, I don't say lift up, but I want to cover these programs and get it right from the horse's mouth and say, hey, we looked at these things, or whatever they're going to share. But I want the hobby to learn as much about this, the back end side, as we can. And I mean, bringing you on, bringing other guys on that have ties to teams helps. But if I can get some of the actual team representatives to come on, and they may say no and say this podcast is dumb, we don't care. But at the end of the day, we want to get everybody as educated and in the know as we can. So, and Paul, earlier you mentioned Fanatics. A funny side story with that today is I'm working with a collector to move a jersey. He's not on social media, but I found him through Reddit, and he sent me the pictures of the jersey he wanted to sell. It's a Blues Winter Classic jersey, and it's got the set stamp in it, and then it has the Fanatic sticker. So I wanted to confirm the description in that, so I put the Fanatic sticker in there first. It's not the right player. It was when I ran the sticker, the little flag sticker, it's the wrong player. I ran they then have the set stamp that has the number on it as well. Ran it, and it is the set stamp is on the jersey correctly and matches up, but the actual little flag sticker that's on the fight strap is for the wrong player.
Surprise.
And even the owner of the jersey was not aware of that until I sent him a screenshot of it. He never looked that up.
That is a Fanatics error, not someone ripping off a name and changing the jersey.
No, so, it's a game issue jersey, and I believe the other one I searched for too, that came up when I searched the flag sticker, was also issued. So it doesn't surprise me that it got screwed up. I'm glad the set stamp number does work and is valid and identifies it correctly. But again, if you got a chance, check your Fanatic stickers if you've got things like that, just to see if it matches. Not that they'll probably do anything about it, but I just did make him aware of that. It won't affect anything because the hem set stamp is correct. But I found that hilarious. I'm like, of course it was screwed up.
So on the Blues version, the Fanatics jersey there, I know they have the code that you enter in, the serial number or whatever they call it.
Uh-huh.
Did it also require a 3-digit authentication code?
No.
No.
When I ran it today, it didn't prompt for one, and I think with mine as well behind me when I ran it just to see how it described it, it did not.
I mean, there's a number of drawbacks about that 3-digit code. One of them is you can't check other jerseys unless someone provides that code from you. That's the one you have to look at the hologram. MLB's doing that for some of the current stuff, and the company the Bruins are working with, are doing that. You have to look at it at different angles to get 3 different letters to type in after you type in the serial number.
Yeah, the Blues ones are pre that new sticker from Fanatics. I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with it.
Good, yes.
So, I guess what purpose does that serve? I guess just keeping you from running other numbers to see what things.
So, yeah, part of it too is part of that is they say that because of the way that you have to turn it, it makes it, and needing the 2 codes, it makes it like more difficult for the hologram to be to be
Counterfeit.
like compromised. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's a big problem in the autograph world. One of the things is like a lot of those companies' stickers were starting to get compromised. Like people were just like, doing what basically what Paul's saying, was finding runs of stickers, reproducing them, and then reproducing lines of bad stuff. And so their thought process was, if they made the sticker more difficult and having more like ties to it, that people couldn't as easily manufacture fake stickers and put them on bad autographs.
Okay, I mean, legit.
Or
I get
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So that's the reason. And I mean, just because I'm in the autograph world as well, I'm familiar with it a little bit more. So hope that helps.
It does very much so. So before we gotta just go round table with anything else, Frosty, any final thoughts on the Bruins taking it in house? Have you talked to other Bruins collectors? Are they excited, nervous, scared? How are you guys feeling?
I think that the general pulse of the Bruins collector is that of concern. And like I said earlier, I think it's more the fear of the unknown. And until this starts gaining more definition and more people become more comfortable with how things are, I think that concern is going to continue.
Makes sense. We as collectors always fear the unknown. I mean, we're waiting for. I mean, I know the season starts in 5 days, but we're also waiting to see what happens next season with the jersey change and all those kind of stuff. So we'll talk about this pretty much off and on all season. We'll talk about the end of Adidas and coming into Fanatics and many other things as we drop the puck on this season. We'll puck drops in 5 days. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I know have a lot more stuff to cover and maybe see who else has had specialty jerseys. I know, Paul, like I say, you mentioned the Sharks already. I know there's going to be other teams out there, so we'll try and keep an eye on who does what early and compare prices. Wade, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts, other topics or things you want to touch on?
No, I mean, I think we're getting ready to head into a fun season of a lot of fresh stuff. I like to think that it's going to be fun to watch the Connor Bedard jersey thing this year. I think if that's my one final thought, I'm very interested to see, because the Blackhawks are kind of an anomaly in how they sell their jerseys. And when you're talking about a guy like that, and with the way the hobby is kind of going these days, it's going to be interesting to see how many jerseys that kid wears and where the pricing is. I'm very interested in that.
You know what? And let me say something before you throw anything else in there. That makes me pop the question in my head. Does that now jumpstart the Blackhawks game worn jersey program because they know they have a star and everybody wants that? Does that get them fired up to get a good, solid, consistent program going, or will they just move a bunch of Bedards?
I think they had. I mean, think about the last 15 years. I mean, they've had Kane and Tays and a lot of other superstar type players come through there, and they didn't seem to care. So, I guess the question is like, I don't have an answer for that, but I think that for the longevity of the value of those things, they're going to have to figure something out. Otherwise, that's going to be a really rocky road with people trying to figure out what is what on that stuff.
So we'll keep an eye on what Chicago does, and I may reach out to a couple of guys in the know up there, see if they've heard anything, if they know anything, and report back on that. Frosty, any other stuff you want to touch on? Final thoughts?
Now, looking forward to the start of a new season. Hope is what I think? Hope is eternal, right? So we can only hope that the Bruins go a little further in the playoffs this year. But I'll definitely, yeah, I'll definitely share back with the group what I might learn tomorrow when I get a chance to chat with people in the Bruins Pro Shop.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Paul?
A few things to add about the Bruins. Throughout last spring, I guess it would have been winter, spring. I know the Bruins organization were reaching out to other teams that were selling jerseys by themselves, not just Migrate. So they got a lot of information from those teams. How much they utilize, we'll find out. An interesting note, their website is from the same provider as the Sharks, bigcommerce.com. what website works well for the Sharks? Stuff sells when they put up jerseys at fixed price, they sell quickly. What doesn't work well are the auctions on BigCommerce. There's no extended bidding. If it's not set up right, you could bid fractional cents and not see who's leading or who's not. Notifications are slow. And there's no sense of a reserve. So if there's a jersey you want and you're not going to be there when the auction closes, if it's currently at 200, you put in a $700 bid, the bid then goes up to 700. It doesn't go to 205 or 210 like most rational auction software does. So I'm hoping the Bruins don't utilize that. I just avoid bidding on most of the Sharks auctions, partly because of that. It just bugs me. Another thing I wanted to bring up, totally different, and I meant to talk about this. We were at the Sharks Kings preseason game, and I never noticed this before. The Kings have American Express as a sponsor, and on the helmets they had the American Express logo, but every letter was raised about a quarter inch, a third of an inch.
That's right. You sent. I apologize. You sent me that picture, and I had it in my notes and completely blew it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool looking. We were down there for warm-ups. I mean, there was almost no one at the Sharks preseason game, and they're just really, really cool, those helmets. They didn't have a sponsored patch on their away jersey, the Kings, but they did just on the helmet. And right now the Sharks still don't have a sponsor patch on their jerseys. And that's about it for me. I'm looking forward for the Red Wings competing for a playoff spot and the Sharks competing for the first draft pick.
Nice. And it's funny you mentioned that too with the Kings. I own a helmet I got probably 2 or 3 years ago. Well, this is a random one. I pick up some different helmets to wear, Paul knows that and Wade knows that. And it's got the Kings logo or the Kings wording written out. And I'd never had a Kings helmet before. But yeah, when I took it out of the box, it has the raised lettering. It's like a plasticky rubber material. And I really thought that was cool because every other one you see are just, this is a sticker too, but not a raised letter like that and a heavy duty one.
That's pretty cool.
I just thought that was a sharp way to do that. And you don't, I think that's probably the only team. I don't know that any others that I've seen that do it that way.
I've never seen it before. I'd love to see photos of your jersey. I mean, a helmet on that.
Yeah, I'll shoot you some pictures here soon. But I wonder what set them off to do that for one. And it's such a different, it's a different thing. Who made that choice and when? But
up close, it looks really cool. As I don't know if it shows better from further away. Just a little more definition. I don't know. I don't have good logic on why they did it. Other than that, it's pretty cool looking.
I'm just glad they stuck with it with the new stuff because it is a nice touch for anybody that's picked up a King's helmet. Well, gentlemen, another show in the books will be in the next show will be show number 30. So Frosty, thank you for joining me from the East Coast. Always like bringing new blood in to get different thoughts on the areas you're knowledgeable on and other stuff as well.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks.
I know we'll have you back on and it's going to be a lovely season. So everybody enjoy the dropping of the puck in 5 days. We'll have this up soon. Like I said, like it, comment, do all that stuff. Get us rated up there. I'm trying to get more people's attention to try and bring some big name guests on down the road. I'm hoping to see if we can pull it off this season. But until next time, Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. Thanks all for listening. We'll see you soon.